30 million people worldwide claim to remember a previous life. For decades, science dismissed these claims until researchers like Ian Stevenson, Jim Tucker, and Erlendur Haraldsson began investigating these phenomena using scientific methods. The results are shocking. Details emerged that cannot be explained rationally. The following 30 stories are all documented cases that researchers thoroughly examined and verified. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear may challenge everything you've believed about consciousness and the continuity of life. Ashish Verma, The Lost Soul by the Tracks. Ashish Verma, an Indian boy, began talking at age 3 about a tragic train accident with details that shook his parents. He claimed to have lived as Ravi Kumar in a nearby village and lost his life walking along the railway tracks. The boy knew meticulous details about the accident that only an eyewitness could know. He described what the weather was like that day, what he saw last, and what thoughts were going through his head when he heard the approaching train. The child spoke about the event with such intensity as if it had happened yesterday. He knew what clothes Ravi wore, what he held in his hands, and even why he was hurrying on that road. Ashish described the family Ravi left behind, his wife, 3 children, and even what unresolved problems tormented him. He spoke about what work Ravi did, how he earned bread for his family, and what dreams he had for the future. When researchers began investigating Ashish's claims, it turned out that every detail was accurate. A man named Ravi Kumar did exist and died exactly as the boy described. The family confirmed intimate details that only Ravi could have known. Dr. Kirti Swarup Rawat, who examined the case, found 25 verifiable facts, of which 23 were completely accurate. Gnanatileka Badawithana, Memory of a Strangled Woman. Gnanatileka Badawithana, a Sri Lankan girl, began remembering at age 4.5 the lives of another woman who died a violent death. She said she lived as Tilekaratne Hamine in a distant village where her husband strangled her during a family argument. The girl knew shocking details about the circumstances of the murder that would have been unknown to a small child. Gnanatileka described the cause of the argument, family feuds, and what tensions led to the violent act. She spoke about how she felt when she realized her husband wanted to kill her, and what thoughts flashed through her mind in the final seconds. The girl knew every moment of Tilekaratne's life in such detail as if she had felt it in her own skin. She knew what their marriage was like in the beginning, how the relationship deteriorated, and what children they had. Researchers also discovered details that separately confirmed the case's authenticity. Gnanatileka recognized Tilekaratne's relatives without anyone introducing them. She knew where the house was where the murder took place, and even what objects were in the room. Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, who thoroughly examined the case, found 28 verifiable facts, of which 27 were accurate. The girl even imitated Tilekaratne's speech style and movements. Purnima Ekanayake, the flower merchant's daughter. Purnima Ekanayake, a Sri Lankan girl, began talking at age 3.5 about a business life completely foreign to her family. She said she worked in the flower trade as Jinnadasa in a distant city where she lost her life in a truck accident. The girl knew all the intricacies of the flower trade in such detail as if she had worked in it for years. Purnima knew what type of flower was delivered where, at what price it was sold, and who the main buyers were. She described the shop, the warehouse, and even what her relationship with business partners was like. She spoke about what problems arose in business operations and what solutions were applied, The girl showed business acumen that was unimaginable for a 3-year-old child. When the family went to the city Purnima talked about, every detail fell into place. They found the flower business where Jinnadasa worked, and former colleagues confirmed all the claims. The girl recognized the building, the vehicles, and even the people she talked about. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is special because Purnima not only remembered Jinnadasa's life, but also inherited his business skills. Ravi Shankar, witness to a double murder. Ravi Shankar, an Indian boy, began talking at age 4 about a brutal murder that affected him personally. He claimed to have lived as Munna in a neighboring village, where 2 men cut off his head and hands over a financial dispute. The boy knew details about the murder that shocked researchers. Ravi described the murderers' faces, the weapons used, and even what they said during the act. He spoke about what pain he felt and what he thought in the final moments. The boy showed fear and trauma when reliving these memories that seemed genuine. He knew what Munna did for a living, what relationship he had with the murderers, and what led to the tragedy. The most shocking thing was that Ravi had birthmarks on his body in exactly the places where Munna was injured, a line on his neck and another on his right wrist. When researchers investigated the case, it turned out that such a murder had indeed occurred. A young man named Munna was indeed beheaded and indeed had his right hand cut off. Dr. Ian Stevenson documented the birthmarks in detail and their connection to the wounds. Disna Samarasinghe, the amphibious memory. Disna Samarasinghe, a Sri Lankan girl, began remembering at age 3 not 1 but 2 different people's lives simultaneously. She said she had a male life and a female life, and she clearly remembers both. This dual memory was particularly remarkable for researchers. Disna knew the details of both persons' lives, their names, the circumstances of their deaths, and even what relationships they had with other people. About the male life, she said he was a bus driver who died in an accident, while about the female life, she claimed she was a married woman who died of illness. The girl showed different personality traits depending on which life she was talking about. Researchers found both persons, and every detail began to match. The bus driver really existed and died exactly as Disna described. The female person was also found, and the family confirmed the claims. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case suggests that consciousness is much more complex than previously thought and can carry multiple life experiences. Sevriye Bayri, Return of a Dead Friend. Sevriye Bayri, a Turkish girl, began remembering at age 5 the lives of a close friend who died under tragic circumstances. She said she lived as Selim in the same village where she now lives and died during pregnancy. The girl knew intimate details about Selim's life that only the closest friends could know. Sevriye described Selime's house, her family, and even what their relationship was like. She spoke about what plans Selime had for the baby, what fears she had about childbirth, and what happened when complications began. The girl knew Selim's emotional world in such detail as if they were her own thoughts. The most astonishing thing was that Sevriye recognized Selim's family members and knew things that only Selim could have told them. The family confirmed that every detail was accurate, even those intimate conversations that were held only in private. According to Dr. Jürgen Keil, this case is special because the geographical proximity between the 2 lives allowed researchers to thoroughly verify every claim. Gamini Jayasena, the self-immolating monk. Gamini Jayasena, a Sri Lankan boy, began remembering at age 4.5 the lives of a Buddhist monk who ended his life by self-immolation. He said he set himself on fire for political reasons to draw attention to certain injustices. The boy knew details about the self-immolation process that were shocking. Gamini described what the moment of decision was like, how he prepared for the act, and what he felt when the flames engulfed him. He spoke about what thoughts guided him, what message he wanted to convey, and what he hoped to achieve with his act. The child showed a depth of understanding of political and social issues that was astonishing for a 4-year-old. Researchers found the monk Gamini spoke about, and every detail matched. The monk indeed died by self-immolation, indeed for political reasons, and indeed under circumstances that the boy described. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is remarkable because Gamini not only inherited the physical experiences, but also the monk's commitment and spiritual development. Ramu Sharma, Rebirth of the Snake Charmer. Ramu Sharma, an Indian boy, began talking at age 3.5 about a special profession completely foreign to his family. He said he was a snake charmer who died from a snake bite during a demonstration. The boy knew the behavior of snakes in such detail as if he had worked with them his entire life. Ramu knew how to handle different snake species, what movements to use to tame them, and even what music to play on the flute. He described the techniques snake charmers use and even knew ways to escape dangerous situations. The boy showed respect for snakes that was unusual. When researchers began investigating, it turned out that a snake charmer did indeed live who died exactly as Ramu described. The snake charmer community confirmed that the person indeed used techniques the boy mentioned. According to Dr. Satwant Pasricha, this case is interesting because Ramu not only remembered the profession, but also showed natural affinity for snakes. Daniel Jurdi, the boy who died in infancy. Daniel Jurdi, a Lebanese boy, began remembering at age 2 the lives of another child who died in infancy. He said he was born as Rashid Khadej, but lived only a few months. The boy knew details about the world of infants that were astonishing. Daniel described what the parental home was like, how the rooms looked, and even what toys he received. He spoke about what illness caused his death, what pains he felt, and how doctors tried to save him. The boy showed sensitivity to infant needs that was unusual. Researchers found Rashid's family, and every detail was accurate. The family confirmed that Rashid indeed died under exactly the circumstances Daniel described. According to Dr. Ian Stevenson, this case is special because it shows that even a very short life's memories can be transferred and that consciousness already has full capabilities in infancy. Gopal Gupta, the poisoned merchant. Gopal Gupta, an Indian boy, began remembering at age 3 the lives of a merchant who was poisoned. He said he lived as Shaktipal Sharma, and a rival merchant gave him a poisoned drink that led to his death. The boy knew details about poisoning symptoms that would have been unknown to a child. Gopal described what pains he felt, how his condition deteriorated, and what he thought when he realized he had been poisoned. He spoke about who the killer was, what motivation guided him, and what business rivalry was in the background. The boy showed commercial knowledge that was unthinkable for a 3-year-old. Researchers investigated the case and found that Shaktipal Sharma indeed existed and was indeed a victim of poisoning. The family and business partners confirmed the details, even those secret business transactions that only Shaktipal could have known. According to Dr. K.S. Rawat, this case is remarkable because Gopal not only remembered the tragic death, but also Shaktipal's complete business knowledge. Wijaratne, witness to murder. Wijaratne, a Sri Lankan boy, began talking at age 4 about a murder of which he himself was the victim. He said he lived as Ratran Hami and was murdered by a business partner. The boy knew details about the murder circumstances that were shocking. Wijaratne described where the murder took place, what weapon was used, and what words were exchanged before the act. He spoke about what he felt when he realized he was going to die and what thoughts went through his head. The boy could even describe the killer's face in detail and provided information that could have been useful for police investigation. Researchers confirmed that Ratran Hami indeed existed and was indeed a murder victim. Local residents remembered the case and confirmed the boy's claims. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is extraordinary because Wijaratne not only remembered the murder, but also provided evidence that shed new light on the case. Nekati Unlutaskiran, the dead journalist. Nekati Unlutaskiran, a Turkish boy, began remembering at age 3.5 the lives of a journalist who died in a tragic accident. He said he worked as Ismail at a local newspaper and lost his life in a car accident. The boy knew journalistic work in such detail, as if he had worked in it himself. Nekati knew how to write articles, how to conduct interviews, and even what stories Ismail was working on before his death. He described the editorial office, colleagues, and even the unsolved cases Ismail was working on. The boy showed writing skills that were astonishing for a 3-year-old. Researchers found Ismail's former workplace, and every detail began to match. Colleagues confirmed that Ismail indeed worked on stories Nekati mentioned, and indeed died in an accident, as the boy described. According to Dr. Jürgen Kiel, this case is special because Nekati not only remembered Ismail's life, but also inherited his writing talent. Bongkuch Promsen, the gangster's revenge. Bongkuch Promsen, a Thai boy, began remembering at age 4 the lives of a local gangster who was killed by rivals. He said he lived as Chamrat and was shot during a gang war. The boy knew details about underworld life that would have been unknown to a child. Bongkuch described the causes of gang wars, rival groups, and even what business interests were in the background. He spoke about how the murder happened, who the perpetrators were, and what he felt when he was shot. The boy showed aggressive behavior that was unusual in his family and constantly talked about revenge. Researchers investigated the case and found that Chamrat indeed existed and indeed died under circumstances Bongkuch described. Local police also confirmed the details. According to Dr. Jürgen Kiel, this case is remarkable because Bongkuch not only remembered Chamrat's life, but also inherited his personality traits and emotional state. Rashmi Sharma, the mutilated victim. Rashmi Sharma, an Indian girl, began remembering at age 4.5 the lives of a woman who was brutally murdered by her husband. She said she lived as Sheila and her husband cut off her fingers before killing her. The girl knew traumatic details about the murder that were shocking. Rashmi described years of domestic violence, constant threats, and finally the fatal night. She spoke about what pain she felt when her fingers were cut off and what she thought in the final moments. The girl's birthmarks were in exactly the places where Sheila was mutilated. This physical evidence was particularly convincing for researchers. Researchers found Sheila's family, and every detail was confirmed. The murder happened exactly as Rashmi described, and even the birthmarks placement matched the wounds. Dr. Ian Stevenson documented this case in detail and counts it among physical evidence cases. Pramanta Bandari, the Air Base officer. Pramanta Bandari, a Nepalese boy, began remembering at age 3 the lives of a military pilot who died in a plane crash. He said he served as Jai Krishna Singh in the Nepalese Air Force, and his plane crashed during training. The boy knew technical details about flying that he never learned. Pramanta described the air base where he served, other pilots, and even what types of aircraft he flew. He spoke about what happened before the accident, what technical problem arose and how he tried to eject. The boy showed a desire to fly that was astonishing for a 3-year-old. Researchers found Jai Krishna Singh's records in the Nepalese Air Force archives, and every detail matched. The accident indeed happened as Pramanta described, and even the technical problem was exactly what the boy mentioned. According to Dr. Satwant Pasricha, this case is special because Pramanta not only remembered Jai Krishna's life, but also inherited his flying passion. Semi Tutusmas's second case, the double murder. Semi Tutusmas, a Turkish boy we already discussed, also remembered another life. He said, in this life he lived as Selim Fesli and was murdered by 2 people with an axe. The boy knew details about this murder too that were shocking. Semi described how he was attacked, what weapons were used, and where his body was found. He spoke about who the killers were, what motivated them, and what thoughts went through his head when he realized he was going to die. The boy's body had birthmarks in places where Selim Fesli was injured. Researchers investigated this case too and found that Selim Fesli indeed existed and was indeed murdered by 2 people with an axe. Local residents remembered the case and confirmed the boy's claims. According to Dr. Ian Stevenson, this case is extraordinary because Semi remembered 2 different lives, and in both cases there was physical evidence. Chamlini Prema's second case, drowning. Chamlini Prema, a Sri Lankan girl we already discussed, also remembered another life. She said in this life she was a girl who drowned. The girl knew details about drowning that were shocking. Chamlini described how she fell into the water, how she tried to swim, and what she felt when she could no longer breathe. She spoke about what thoughts went through her head in the final moments and what it was like when she lost consciousness. The girl showed fear of water that was unusual. Researchers found the case Chamlini talked about, and every detail was accurate. The drowning indeed happened as the girl described. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is remarkable because Chamlini not only remembered the traumatic event, but also carried its emotional consequences. Dilukshi Nisanka, the motorcycle accident victim. Dilukshi Nisanka, a Sri Lankan girl, began remembering at age 3.5 the lives of a young man who died in a motorcycle accident. She said he lived as Sunil and collided with a car on his motorcycle. The girl knew details about the accident that would have been unknown to a child. Dilukshi described how the accident happened, what injuries he suffered, and how long he remained conscious. She spoke about what she felt when she realized she wouldn't survive and what thoughts went through her head. The girl showed motorcycle enthusiasm that was unusual for a girl. Researchers found Sunil's family, and every detail matched. The accident indeed happened as Dilukshi described, and even the motorcycle type was exactly what the girl mentioned. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is special because Dilukshi not only remembered Sunil's life, but also inherited his passions. Thusitha Silva, the war veteran. Aitha Silva, a Sri Lankan boy, began remembering at age 4 a military life who fought in the Civil War. He said he served as Vijay Sundara and died in battle. The boy knew details about war that were shocking. Thusitha described battle circumstances, weapons used, and even what military life was like. He spoke about how he died, who his comrades were, and what thoughts went through his head during combat. The boy showed military discipline that was unusual for a 4-year-old. Researchers investigated the case and found that Vijay Sundara indeed served in the army and indeed died in battle. Military records confirmed the details. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is remarkable because Thusitha not only remembered Vijay Sundara's life, but also inherited his military skills and attitude. Duminda Bandara Ratnayake, another life of a Buddhist monk. Duminda Bandara Ratnayake, a Sri Lankan boy, began remembering at age 3 the lives of a Buddhist monk who lived a long life. He said he served as Ratanasara Thero in a temple and reached old age. The boy knew Buddhist teachings in such detail as if he had studied them for decades. Duminda knew the texts of Buddhist sutras, meditation techniques, and even how to lead a monastic community. He described the temple where Ratanasara Thero lived, other monks, and even what teachings he gave to believers. The boy showed spiritual maturity that was astonishing for a 3-year-old. Duminda constantly talked about wanting to return to the monastery. He showed such deep understanding of Buddhist philosophy, as if he had studied it for decades. The boy even knew words in Pali that he never learned and assumed meditation positions that no one showed him. Researchers found the monastery Duminda talked about, and it turned out that Ratanasara Thero indeed lived there and indeed gave teachings the boy mentioned. The monks confirmed the details and even what personality Ratanasara was. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is special because Duminda inherited not only memories, but profound spiritual knowledge. Nishani, the girl who was a mother. Nishani, a Sri Lankan girl, began remembering at age 4 the lives of an adult woman who died during childbirth. She said she lived as Kusuma and lost her life due to complications when she gave birth to her 3rd child. The girl knew details about childbirth and motherhood that would have been unknown to a child. Nishani described what it was like to be pregnant, how she raised her children, and what fears she had during the 3rd pregnancy. She spoke about what happened during childbirth, what complications arose, and what she felt when she realized she was dying. The girl showed maternal emotions that were unusual for a 4-year-old. Researchers found Kusuma's family, and every detail was accurate. The family confirmed that Kusuma indeed died during childbirth and indeed had 3 children. Nishani recognized Kusuma's children and knew details about family life that only a mother could know. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, this case is extraordinary because Nishani not only remembered Kusuma's life, but also inherited her maternal instincts. Ruwan Wijaratne, the seamstress's rebirth. Ruwan Wijaratne, a Sri Lankan boy, began remembering at age 3.5 the lives of a woman, which was particularly interesting since he was born in a boy's body. He said he lived as Damarika and was a seamstress who died of a heart attack. The boy knew details about sewing that were astonishing. Ruwan knew how to sew, what patterns to use, and even what fabrics were best for different clothes. He described the sewing shop where Damarika worked, customers, and even what competition with other seamstresses was like. The boy showed feminine behavior that bothered his family. Researchers found Damarika's former workplace, and every detail matched. Former customers confirmed that Damarika indeed used techniques Ruwan mentioned. According to Dr. Erlendur Haraldsson, This case is remarkable because it shows not only cross-gender reincarnation, but also that personality and skills can be transferred even when biological gender changes. Suzanne Gainham, the hunting rifle victim. Suzanne Gainham, a Lebanese girl, began remembering at age 2.5 the lives of a young woman who was shot with a hunting rifle. She said she lived as Hanan Mansour and lost her life in a war situation. The girl knew details about the shooting that were traumatic. Suzanne described how she was walking on the road when she heard the shot and what she felt when the bullet hit her. She spoke about how long she remained conscious and what thoughts went through her head in the final minutes. The girl showed fear of shooting that was unusual. Researchers found Hanan Mansour's family, and every detail was accurate. Family members confirmed that Hanan indeed died as Suzanne described, and even the location was exactly what the girl mentioned. According to Dr. Ian Stevenson, this case is special because Suzanne not only remembered the traumatic event, but also carried its psychological consequences. Bishen Chand Kapoor, the teacher's second life. Bishen Chand Kapoor, an Indian boy, began remembering at age 1.5 the lives of an adult man extremely early. He said he lived as Lakshmi Narain and was a teacher who died a natural death. The boy began talking about this life so young that researchers found the case particularly interesting. Bishen knew how to teach, what subjects Lakshmi Narain taught, and even where he worked. He described the school, students, and even new colleagues by name. The boy showed pedagogical sense that was unthinkable for an 18-month-old. Researchers found the school Bishen talked about and discovered that Lakshmi Narain indeed taught there. Former colleagues confirmed the details and even what teaching methods Lakshmi used. Dr. Ian Stevenson documented this case in detail because the extremely early age when memories appeared was particularly remarkable. Hanumant Saxena, memory of the candy vendor. Hanumant Saxena, an Indian boy, began remembering at age 3 the lives of a simple candy vendor. He said he lived as Maha Ram and sold sweets at his small stand when he became ill and died. The boy knew details about selling sweets that were surprising. Hanumant knew what sweets were sold, at what price, and who the regular customers were. He described the stand, its location, and even what competition with other vendors was like. The boy showed business sense that was unusual for a 3-year-old. Researchers found the place where Maharam sold, and local residents confirmed that such a vendor indeed existed. The details Hanumant mentioned were all accurate. According to Dr. K.S. Rawat, this case is interesting because it shows that even a simple life's memories can be clearly transferred and that not only special or tragic lives remain. Imad Elawar, details of the accident. Imad Elawar, a Lebanese boy, began remembering at age 2 the lives of another person with details that surpassed all previous cases. He said he lived as Ibrahim Buhamzi in a nearby village and died in an accident. The boy knew more than 57 verifiable details about Ibrahim's life. Imad described Ibrahim's house, family members, friends, and even intimate family secrets. He spoke about what Ibrahim did for a living, what love he had, and how the tragic accident happened. The boy knew every aspect of Ibrahim's life so precisely as if it were his own experience. Researchers examined the case in detail, and Dr. Ian Stevenson personally traveled to Lebanon to verify every claim. It turned out that out of 57 claims, 51 could be confirmed and everything matched. This is one of the best documented reincarnation cases in history. Family, friends, and even distant acquaintances confirmed Imad's claims. Kumari Nageshwari, owner of the doll. Kumari Nageshwari, an Indian girl, began remembering at age 4 the lives of another girl who lived nearby. She said she lived as Sheila and had a special doll she loved very much. The girl knew details about Sheila's life that were surprising. Kumari described the doll, its clothes, and even where she kept it. She spoke about what games she played with it, what stories she made up, and how attached she was to it. The girl showed emotional attachment to a doll she never saw. When the family found Sheila's relatives, it turned out that such a doll indeed existed, exactly as Kumari described. Family members even found the doll, and when they showed it to Kumari, the girl burst into tears and took it in her arms as naturally as if it were her own. According to Dr. Satwant Pasricha, this case is special because it shows that even childhood emotions and attachments can be transferred from one life to another. The pattern behind. These 30 stories are all documented, scientifically examined cases. But what's truly thought-provoking is not the individual stories, but what common elements can be discovered in them. According to Dr. Jim Tucker's latest research, there are recurring patterns that appear in every culture. First, children usually begin talking about their previous lives between ages 2 and 6. This is the period when the brain has not yet completely closed developmental processes, and it's as if a window opens for memories. According to Dr. Tucker, it's as if the child's brain hasn't yet built those walls that in adults separate current life from previous memories. Second, most children begin forgetting these memories by age 7 or 8. It's as if during brain maturation, the window that allowed previous life memories to surface closes. This may explain why most adults don't remember previous lives. Third, children who report violent or sudden deaths generally have more intense and detailed memories. According to Dr. Ian Stevenson's research, traumatic events leave deeper marks on consciousness and are more easily accessible in the next life. Fourth, in many cases, birthmarks or body marks appear in places where there were injuries in the previous life. Dr. Stevenson documented more than 200 such cases where physical evidence exactly corresponded to injuries suffered in previous lives. Fifth, children often retain the previous life's personality traits, skills, or emotional states. A musician's musical talent, a merchant's business sense, or a monk's spiritual maturity can transfer to the new life. New horizons of science. The latest research shows that these cases are not isolated phenomena. According to Dr. Tucker, thousands of similar cases are documented worldwide annually. And what's even more exciting is that modern neurosciences are beginning to understand that consciousness may not be limited to the brain. According to Dr. Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose's quantum consciousness theory, the basis of consciousness may be quantum mechanical processes that are not destroyed by death, but return to the quantum field and can later take manifest form again. This is a revolutionary idea that could explain how memories can transfer from one body to another. According to newer discoveries by brain researchers, the brain doesn't produce consciousness, but is rather an antenna or receiver that receives consciousness. If this is true, then death doesn't mean the cessation of consciousness, only the disconnection of the antenna. And if a new body is born in the appropriate quantum state, it may be able to receive the same conscious information. The eternal question. So if more than 6,000 scientifically documented cases show that children worldwide know details about previous lives that they couldn't have acquired in any normal way. What does this mean for us? What does this mean for our image of life, death, and the nature of consciousness? Perhaps it means that no one truly dies. That every experience we gain, every love we feel, and every wisdom we understand remains somewhere in the depths of consciousness. That every encounter is another chapter beginning in an infinite story. That every connection we form may not be the first time we've met these souls. And perhaps it also means that the children around us are not blank slates on which we write the first lines, but souls who have already lived many lives and now have another chance to learn, grow, and love.